From across the continent and around the world, there are calls for the nations that were perpetrators of slavery to recognize the undeniable truth of the evil of the trade and right the wrongs against Africans that have gone unpunished for more than 400 years. Conservative estimates are that over 12 million men and women were forcibly kidnapped from Africa, shipped along treacherous routes, and delivered as slaves in the Americas and Europe. Hazem Cisse is a Gambian historian.
From James Island, from the slavery database and from other scholarly works, we are estimating between 700 to 800,000 from James Island and other ports along the River Gambia.
Through the transatlantic slave trade, nearly 2 million Africans lost their lives at the hands of slaveholders. The main slaveholding countries involved in the trade were Britain, France, Portugal, the Netherlands, and Spain. These countries robbed Africa of its human capital to feed the labor demand in the wake of the Industrial Revolution. The cost of this continues to have a grave impact on Africa's socio-economic status. At the bicentenary anniversary of Janjanbureh, formerly Georgetown, a former settlement for freed slaves, President Adama Barrow puts the case for reparations.
The Gambia will seize the Makati Island bicentenary celebration to use its diplomatic, intellectual and cultural advantage to promote reparations agenda.
A 2008 research published by Professor Nathan Noon of the University of British Columbia, a global center for research, reports that had the slave trade not occurred, 72% of the average income gap between Africa and the rest of the world would not exist today, and that Africa would have been at a similar level of development to Latin America or Asia. Such economic damage on the continent shows that the impact of slavery transcends generations across centuries and justifies the just cause for reparations across the continent, including the Gambia.
We have made certain declarations on reparations, which will soon be submitted to the cabinet. Another practical action that has to be taken has to do with valorizing the sites in this country and across Africa that are testimony to the transatlantic slave trade, like James Island, like Fort Bullen, like the island of Georgetown itself. Okay, we valorize them. Upgrade them. Restore these sites so that these will be, tangible evidence, okay, of the, slave trade.
Adding weight to the calls for reparations for slavery include high-profile voices, among which are the presidents of the Gambia and Ghana, the African Union, UN, and heads of many Caribbean countries, to where millions of the enslaved were taken. In June last year, a US-based consultancy firm, the Brattle Group, estimated the reparations for the harms caused during slavery will cost between 100 to 131 trillion US dollars as calls for slavery reparations grow. Most of the former slave-holding countries, families and businesses are yet to own up to their crimes, apologize or respond to demands for reparations. Their silence, however, will not make the calls for justice grow any quieter. Mohamed Lamin, Choy QTV News.